So imagine you're at South Central and you're leaving the parking lot. As you're backing out, your car gets hit. A lot of thoughts are going through your head. Probably the first one is you should call 911, but who's gonna help you? Today I'm gonna talk to you about what it's like to be an EMT at a car crash. According to Forbes, you'll have at least 3 to 4 car crashes in your lifetime. I'm an EMT and I've done extensive training and research. The 3 main topics I'll cover today are the dispatch call, the scene, and the ride into the hospital. My first main point is the 911 call. EMTs have certain protocols we have to follow when receiving the call. So whether you're on call or at the station, there'll be a scanner. And a lot of you, whether you know it or not, you do know what a scanner is. If you've ever watched the show Cops, when they get a call in from dispatch, that's what a scanner sounds like. And usually I'm on call, and so imagine this, it's 2 a.m., the scanner goes off, and this is what you'll hear. Single crash, possible injuries, 23-year-old male, mid-sized sedan, head on with a tree, law on fire, en route. So when you're on call, you're mandated to be 5 minutes away. And I asked our head of department, Tom Pitt, why that's mandated. He told me that we need to be on scene as soon as possible and there shouldn't be any delays. When I arrive, I'm already dressed. And usually what I'm in, and since it's 2 a.m., I will make sure I have a reflective coat on, because a lot of times if there's a car crash, police officers will try to redirect traffic, but we want to make sure other people see us, because there is people that do like to go and kind of inspect car accidents. And we also make sure we have tactical boots on, and usually they're steel toe, because like I said, we're dealing with a car crash. A lot of things can get dropped on your toes, and the most important thing is our safety, so we're going to make sure we're protected so we can help you. And we also, when we're getting ready for the call, we double check our ambulance and make sure the oxygen tanks are fully loaded. We just make sure everything's stocked, and then we're ready to go. Now that I told you what we do when we receive a dispatch call, I'll tell you what we do when we get on scene. When we arrive, we will assess, treat, and transport. So our first main concern, because fire will always be there first, is we ask them if they stabilize the vehicle. And when I mean stabilize, that means the vehicle is not going to move on us. So they will either let the air out of the tires or block them. And it has to be level to the ground, so it can't be on its side. And there cannot be any movement at all in the vehicle. Because believe it or not, even if a vehicle's in park and we're trying to get somebody out, it will rock back and forth. And so when we arrive, since it would be a person that hit a street, their vehicle usually is going to look like that. And also when they stabilize it, they're going to make sure if there's any gas, they're going to drain out the gas, because it's a huge risk for us. If we're inside the vehicle trying to get somebody out and it catches on fire, now it's not only that person, we're at risk too. So when we come to the patient, they're conscious and responsive. When I say responsive, I mean if I call, like if I say, what's your name, they can tell me their name back. I'd give them a command like, look at me. I'd probably grab one of their fingers and I'd say, what finger am I touching? Can you wiggle your fingers? Can you move your eyes to the left, to the right? And then I'd ask one of my partners to take their vitals to make sure that there isn't any underlying problems. And at this point, the patient says their head hurts, but there's no other apparent injuries. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a C-collar on them, which is right there. It just wraps around their neck, it stabilizes their neck, and the green thing is the CAD board. The CAD board basically stabilizes your whole entire spine. We only use it if you're sitting in a vehicle. And once we have that underneath you and strapped on you, we are going to put a backboard, which is right there, right underneath you, and we're going to pivot you onto there and lay you down and bring you out of your vehicle and onto the gurney. And then we'll bring you onto the ambulance. So now that I've talked about the call and what we do at the scene, I'm going to tell you what we do when we are taking you into the hospital. So once we have you on the gurney and into our ambulance, we're going to do a second assessment, and as well as radio in. So when we radio in to the hospital, we usually say who the patient is, not their name, but like some slim details like 23-year-old male, conscious, head-on collision, headache, cuts, bruising, their vital signs, and we'll say like we're 10 minutes out to give them an approximate time to get the ER ready. And our second assessment, as we like to call it, is we're looking for minor things that we could have missed. So which would be abrasions, which are cuts, which the patient would have. We take vitals, we probably put them on oxygen just to be safe. We transport with their lights on because since they did hit their head, we want to make sure, because realistically, we don't have the power if they have a head injury to really do anything, but we want to make sure they get there as fast as possible to improve their quality of life. And once we arrive at the hospital, they have cameras on the ambulance bay. Usually we'll have 2 RNs that come out and help us transport the patient in. We'll give an update, latest vitals to the RNs, because even though we called in, doesn't mean it'll be the same nurses. And we'll kind of tell them the scenario, we'll help them get the patient onto the hospital bed, and we'll also have them fill out paperwork basically saying we didn't just abandon the patient, that they are signing off that we gave them full knowledge of the patient and now they're taking care of them. So in conclusion, I've walked you through the steps of a dispatch call, the scene, and a transport. Now that you know what it's like to be an EMT, next time you see any first responder, thank them because they'll appreciate it. After all, we are the ones who save lives.
How many car crashes have you been in?
Oh God, at least I'd say probably like 20. It's really common, honestly, because so I work for Montgomery, but we'll go to Mankato a lot because they have a lot of crazy things that happen, and usually it's the fire department that'll actually dispatch us to come and help. But yeah, there's been a lot.
How long did it take you to do the EMT class?
It takes a semester, but it's like Mondays and Wednesdays, and then it's 6 to 10:30 at night. So it's a lot of hours, and then you have a couple Saturdays you have to do, and there's a lot of like out of school or like out of the class work. So like there's a lot of like quizzes that are like 200 questions, and a lot of, I guess, like online prep for like the National Registry and stuff.
What would you say the typical time is for them to stabilize a vehicle before you can enter it?
It honestly depends. Like if it was that one, it wouldn't take them long, because when I say let the air out of the tires, a lot of firefighters will just slash the tires so it drops to the ground, and it maybe takes them 10 to 15, but as the vehicle's rolled, it takes them a while, because we've had it before where a vehicle's rolled into like a creek, and it takes a long time, because they're also trying to stabilize it so we can go in there. But if they have to use like the jaws of life, or they're also trying to like watch out for the patient as well, because you don't want to rock the vehicle so much that it's moving them around, because if they broke their neck, like we could really, I mean, they can injure them really bad.
So is there any situation where they might, I don't know how to say it, not do that because the patient is bleeding out, or there's...
I know we've had it before where a person's rolled their car and one of the bars has went straight into their femur, and it's a femoral bleed, and it only takes, I mean, you can bleed out easily within 15 minutes from that. They still have to stabilize it, but we have to be in the car at that point. So it's kind of scary because we're in the vehicle while they're doing this, we're kind of risking ourselves, but yeah.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. Griselda's up. Amina's on deck.